Hey guys, thanks for joining me. I'm going to be painting some ghosties on a canvas. I'm not sure whether you can see, there's a little bit of an outline all over this. And this is kind of sort of thing that we're aiming for. So I've got these as my little reference points. These are my little minis. They are also available online for you to buy, and this is going to be the prototype for a painting event that I'm doing in October. Obviously we need a little bit of a Halloween theme. I'm just going to try and position this light somewhere that you can see without it getting in the way. Maybe I'll ditch the light. Kind of need it. No, sorry, we can do without it. Right. Okay, so I've got my setup. I'm a bit of a messy painter. Perhaps, maybe I'm clean in comparison to some people, but I've got my water in my child's Nesquik tub, and I've got my paints, and I just kind of lay them out in a bit of a circle with usually black and white in the middle. And then what I've got under here is just a bit of tissue paper that I've added some water to, and that helps to keep the paint nice and moist while you're working with it. And then if I decide I need to cover it over because I've got kids and dogs, and perhaps my attention will be diverted somewhere else, I just cover it over with some cling film, and then it's still good to go, even up to a week afterwards. Really, you probably want to add a little bit more water if you're going to do that, but that's kind of what I'm working with. And the paints that I tend to use are the Winsor & Newton professional acrylic ones. I just find that these cover so much better. They go on a bit smoother. So if you are really into your painting, then go high end. But to start with, there's no reason why you can't use the cheaper brands, even by Winsor & Newton. But I mean, you could just use poster paints and you'll get a similar sort of result. It's just the vibrancy of the colours is coming from this sort of thing. We're a little bit dark there, aren't we? I feel like we do need the light. Put it there. Yeah, that kind of works. Okay, so what I've got on my canvas is just some basic drawings that I've put on there. And in my painting events, you'll get an outlined drawing on the canvas already, and then it's just kind of down to you to slap a bit of paint on there. So I'm not used to that kind of brush. So I'm going to go in, and I want to first colour all of this in blue. Everything that isn't sort of a feature in my picture, I want blue because it's going to be a nighttime theme. So what I'm going to do is just pick up a little bit of water on my brush and then dip it in my darkest blue that I've got in here. There we go. I've got a blue that looks a bit like a purple as well. We are going to add a little bit of purple in there too. Oh, and point to mention, I've got some glow in the dark paint, which I can't wait to use. So I'm really, really excited about that. I might just stick that in front of the light and charge it up. And then I'll get rid of the light and we'll do some painting now. Right, so to start with, we're not getting off to a great start, are we? Let's just get rid of that. There we go. That'll cover over. Okay, so I'm going to come in here in the corner just because this is going to be my loosest part of the painting. And I'm just going to cover everything that I want blue. And what I tend to do is work in one area at a time. Don't forget the edges. Okay, so if I want that a little bit darker, I could add a bit of black even, but what I'm going to do is add a bit of purple just because I really want like a hue of purple in there as well. Okay, and you'll see this kind of shape starting to appear here, and that's obviously going to be the moon. I'm going to come in with a load more paint, just kind of frame that moon a little bit, just because it makes it easier to paint the white if you keep it white in the first place, because then you haven't got to go over a really dark color. You'll notice I'm not kind of doing everything in the same brush strokes. I'm just kind of having a little bit of fun with it, to be honest. I'm not too worried about the finished result at the moment. It's more about getting paint on the canvas. And then, to be fair, everything that you're doing is going to help to give your painting a little bit of character. So you don't have to go absolutely nuts, but you definitely don't have to be all precise to this moment either. Just get the paint on the canvas. I don't know whether you guys saw, but there was a little house in the background there, but I wasn't happy with that, so that's coming out. I might put a little Dracula style castle in there when we're done. Play around with the background in a bit. Okay, if you find that your paint is going kind of spread out, it's because you don't have enough on your brush, or your paint is too dry. You can, so where you start seeing it thin out like this, where I'm going over it, but it's just not really covering, that's where you can add just a little bit of water to your brush, just a little bit. You might want to dab it off a little bit, and then go in there again, and it will just cover so much better. Okay, so starting to see some shape. I'm not going to worry about this bit down here because I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do with it yet. And then I'm just going to come over this way and do the same. So again, it's just about getting that paint on the canvas in the first place. Stop wondering. I'm not used to painting on an easel as well. I tend to paint on my lap, but for you guys to be able to see, I'm painting up here. So this is about getting those basic shapes to start appearing in front of you. I'm going to add a bit of purple in there because I want the little purple hue. Does anybody else make painting noises? I give my paint sound effects. I find it helps me paint. I'm going to say it helps me paint. Maybe. I don't know. Da, 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 da. Okay, still got a lot of blue to cover up here. How am I going to get under there? Take that off. There we go. Okay, I'll probably speed this process up for you. Or if you're painting along, that's really kind of helpful, isn't it? If I just leave it. So the other reason why I'm going round these pictures is because I hate doing things twice. And if I went over them, then I'd probably have to redraw them or paint freehand, which is fine if you're up for the challenge. And I don't feel like I'm up for that kind of challenge just yet. So, and we're keeping this as easy as possible for you guys to achieve. So come in and fill this bit in. So I'm also watching the time it takes for me to cover this length of canvas as well, because if I take forever painting one little area, when I come back in like this to fill in a little bit of detail, I'm going to really struggle to get my paint to blend. It's just going to not want to play ball with me, and you're going to have so many more brush strokes than you intended. So I'm trying to just quickly get the base layers on before it all dries, and then we can go in there and we can play with the areas that we want to. We can change the bits that we want to, add a bit of different colour in, so maybe some lighter blues, some darker blues, a little bit of black, a little bit of purple, a little bit of green maybe. Oh, I've got some glasses coming up here, and obviously behind the glasses they're still going to be blue. So what I'm going to do is literally paint over the top of that, but be aware that I've done that so I can fill in the rest of those glasses when we come to do that detail. And then I've got faded lines, so I'm just kind of guessing a little bit as to where I'm meant to be. There we go. And we're not looking for precision, but I have got a big brush and I'm trying to do some little details. Maybe in hindsight I should have picked a smaller brush for these bits. But I like a challenge, so why not? Okay, so starting to form. Can you see there's something there? Go down. Again, not going to worry about this side bit because I haven't decided what I'm going to do with it yet. Making sure to bring the paint down on the edges. And I've got a little bit too dry. Just going to bring in a little bit of water to help me cover these bits. Can you see when I add the water it goes a little bit lighter as well? I'm going to take some of the paint from the other area and just bring that in. Hello, Ghosty. I love these little cheeky chaps. I like to give them lots of character. Because it's so easy to do. Ghosties are awesome. I love them. So, going over the bit of purple again. I want a little bit of purple just here. I'm not doing anything specific. I'm literally just getting a bit of colour on there again. So you can see I'm just getting a bit of colour on there. Because the sky isn't actually all one colour. Even at night, it's made up of a load of different sort of shades. So, and it's not just black either. So I'm just coming in with some texture. Oh. What I don't want though is for the texture to just be blobbed in around my images. So I'm making sure to blend it in some places so it looks like it's genuinely behind the ghosty, not just around them. And then I've just noticed I've missed a little bit down here, so I'm going to come in, but I'm going to come in with a bit of purple because I fancy a change. And then the books. Oh, yeah, come down about there. If you do anything wrong at this stage, you literally either wipe it off or wait for it to dry and then just paint straight over the top of it. There we go. So I'm just making sure we've got some good coverage. I'm not worried about the texture that's coming out. Right, so now a fun part. I'm going to come in with this moon. I want to finish this moon off before the paint dries too much. So I've washed my brush, dabbed it off as well. I'm not that clean when I'm washing my brushes. I don't mind a little bit of colour. That's fine, but that's my style. So I'm going to pick up a bit of white on my brush, quite a bit, and then I'm coming in and I'm going to start in the middle and then I'm going to work my way out. That's just so we can get some proper white in the middle, and then as it spreads out it will start to sort of cover up the other areas, and it hasn't done that very well, so that would tell me that my white is not great or I used the wrong one. What's this? Mixing white. I use mixing white. Oh no. Okay. Where's my white? There it is. So I've got a big blob of, it's funny, big blob of mixing white in the middle, and you can see if I use mixing white, it doesn't quite cover up. I don't know if you can see that. Let me bring it a little bit closer for you. There we go. It doesn't quite cover up around where I want it to. So when I put the white on, I kind of expect it to cover white a bit better than that. Right. And it's always good to have a good quality white, whether you are a novice or not. Right, okay, let's go in again. Picking up quite a bit because I've got some mixing white in there too, and I couldn't be bothered to fish it out, so we're working with it. Right, so you'll see the coverage is completely different with a good quality white. As I'm going in, it's completely covering now. So can you see? Good quality white makes a huge difference. Now I've got a ton of white on there, and I'm going to start blending it out. Make my moon. I want to put blobs in there because the moon isn't a round shape, is it? And if this dries, then it will dry with a little texture in it. So I'm just kind of utilizing the fact that I've used way too much paint and blobbing it off. Right, so I've just wiped my brush. I tend to do this quite a lot. So I've just wiped my brush to get the excess off. And then I'm coming in with a little bit of, what do I want? What do I fancy? Let's see what happens if I use the lighter blue. So I've got the lighter blue on my brush. And then I'm going to just come in around the edge. Ooh, that's interesting. I'm going to blob that in a little bit on the side. Why not? Give it a little bit of texture. Whee. Hey there, Mooney. Okay, so I'm going to wash my brush this time because the white is clearly still having quite a big influence. And I want to just phase this out, give it a little bit of a hue rather than a direct sort of line. So what I've got is the same blue that I've got around the edge here. And I'm just going to come in and I want to pick up some of the white. So I'm going over the moon a little bit. And then to get this hue, I'm just allowing that white to impact the blue that I'm going around with so it can do its thing. Whee! That's good. Yeah, we like that. So I'm just getting rid of some brush strokes that I see that I don't like. And coming back down here, a little bit darker. Go more huey. So I'm just taking part of this white, bringing it out. Ooh, got quite a bit of blue there. Blending, 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 blending. Who sings that? There's a film where he sings about blending and blending, something like that. Oh God, I've sung on the blimmin' internet. All in the name of fun, right? There we go. Right, okay. Yeah, I'm kind of happy with that moon. Doesn't have to be really round, doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm going to put some bigger bits. That's it. Here we go. Don't know if you guys can see that. There. Ta-da! One moon. One moon. That's it. We've done a background and a moon. Whoosh. So now I can start picking and choosing what I want to do everywhere else. We do have to cover this bottom bit, and I was hoping to get like a really vibrant green. Oh, hold on. Whoa, before this dry, or do I go over it? Oh, I don't even know what to do with this. This glow in the dark paint. What do I do? How does it cover? I don't even know. I haven't even opened it. Oh, this is exciting. Do I just do it afterwards? Or do I do it now? It looks like PVA glue. What happens if I mix it with paint? Does it still glow? Who knows? I think I'm going to wait until it's a bit drier and then dab in some. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah. And then I'll just go over the ghosties and the, yeah, but I want to do it tastefully, not like cover the whole thing in glow in the dark paint, or how tempting that is. But yeah, I want to do it kind of a bit tastefully. So the green at the bottom, the green. So I've got, I don't know if you guys can see here, I've got a couple of choices. So I've got this kind of green, which is like a really dark natural plant kind of green, and then I've got this like turquoisey color as well. So I'm thinking I'm gonna mix a little bit of this with a little bit of that and a bit of the white, just to kind of make like a vibrant green. But I want to blend it, so I want a darker green on this side and then a lighter green under here. I want it to almost glow under here. So I might introduce some of the glow in the dark paint, see what happens. But anyway, so I'm going to start with my darkest color in the corner, which is over here and over here. Start on this side. I'm painting over the top of the images that I intend to use later, because I know that they're there and I know that's my intention. But if you guys wanted to, you could just go around them. It takes a little bit more time though, doesn't it? I'm just going to bring that up there and blend it in there a little bit. I'm not happy with that line up there, so I'm just going to bring the blue in just to feed that down on the side. There we go. Oh, I like the blue. I like the blue in there. So I've got a little bit of the darker blue, and I'm just coming in here. Oh, that's nice! Yay! I like it, like it, like it. Love it, love it, love it. Like it, like it, like it. Now I've got to pick the canvas up and paint underneath. Okay, it's drying a little bit too quickly for my liking, so I'm just going to carry on with this bit, try and get all of that in with a little bit of water, just so it doesn't keep drying at that great rate of knots. Again, brush strokes, not worried about them, because it'll all kind of add to the texture that you're going to see. You can have a very smooth, non-brush stroke kind of area, but we're talking about grass and bushes and things, and they're not straight. I'm just going to pick up my canvas because I need to get to this bit underneath. I'll try and keep it in view. I will do green. I'm going to bring it all the way across here. I need a bit of water because it's just a little bit dry for my liking. That's better, that spreads. Coming under the pumpkin. Whoa! Oh, I said I was going to paint underneath, didn't I? Lonker, Ratuier. Whoa! Under the ghosty. Ah. Hey ghosty, I see you. What did I do there? Oh, okay, right. A little bit of the blue, bringing that down. I just want to blend that in because I really don't like that harsh line. I don't want it to dry before I get that opportunity. Blend. Again, bringing it down because I really like that kind of bluey kind of darky blue. Yeah. And then you can see we're sort of developing this glowy kind of hue down here. Oh God, I'm gonna get my fingers dirty now because what we need to do. I've just dabbed a bit of paint on the back. This is going well. Oh my goodness, why am I doing this so cat-handed? Okay, here we go. Painting the edge, painting the edge. If you don't paint the edge, you just have the harsh white on the outside, which is fine if that's what you want, or if you're going to frame it. But I just like to bring the colour around. Just to finish the painting off. It sounds a bit backwards. You're finishing the painting off before you've even started, really. But if we don't do this bit, then we'll regret it later. Oh, missed a bit up there. How are we doing? I'm just going to plonk it there and do that. Do this edge. And bringing in a bit of that blue just to blend in that harsh edge, just to make sure it's all how I wanted it. Ooh, yay. Definitely makes me a little bit happy to see the colours mix. Right. Ooh. Nearly about to pick up a bit of purple then. Don't know what that would do. Purple and green, I suppose I should know. Right. Now I've done the edges. Yeah, so we've got all those green edges. I'm just going to plonk it back up there. Ease, and then I'm coming in just to finish off this bit at the front. Definitely need a bit of water in this one. Just a bit drier than the others. Okay, so we've got some plantage appearing here. And I'm just going to paint over this bit because was that where the pumpkin was? See, there's like a suggestion of a plant there, so I'll figure out the logistics of that in a bit. But what I don't want is brush strokes circling around my pumpkin, because then it will look like I've painted the pumpkin, which obviously that's what you want, but then it will look like I've painted the pumpkin and painted the edges, and you want the suggestion of something a little bit more natural than that. So if I was to just leave this brush stroke, then it will look like I've circled around it. You will literally see that. So I've got to make sure that I'm bringing away the attention from that brush stroke, bringing it into a more natural sort of textured feel. There we go. Right, so then we've got the suggestion of plants and stuff. Fill that little gap in there, just fill that in there. A little bit of blue, a little bit of blue. See this harsh line just here? I don't know whether you guys can see that. Show you. See the harsh line just here. That's what I'm trying to avoid. I don't want the green and the blue just becoming a harsh line. So to blend it, what I'm doing is adding just a tiny little bit of the same blue that's above it and bringing it down. And it's put some of the green above it too. It's fine, need a little bit more. If it doesn't cover, grab a little bit more. There, that's better. And then again, blending, blending. You can have a harsh line if you're having bushes and things like that, but I don't want bushes in my painting this time. Or I might have bushes eventually, but right now I'm just thinking about these ghosties. I want to paint these ghosties and I want to get the glow in the dark stuff going. Right, okay, so do you remember I mentioned something about, actually just before I do that, can you see the difference here? So it's a bit more blended, no harsh line. Yeah, and I've brought the blending in here as well, just to kind of give it a little bit more of a natural feel. So the glowing that we want going on, I've got some yellow. That's what I'm going to use. So I'm going to come in here down the bottom while it's still wet and mix in some yellow into the situation. Right there. Okay, and the reason why we paint the background and all of the bits around our items is because when we come to paint our items, then they will actually pop and move forward into the picture. Because at the minute, obviously, you're focused on what's going on down here or what's going on up here. And then as soon as we get these ghosties looking a little bit more prominent, then they'll start to sort of pop out of the picture a little bit more. I'm going to bring a bit of yellow all the way down here because I want a glow. I almost want, like, because we're going to put some glow in the dark paint in here, I almost want the reflection of the ghosties to be down here. So I'm just kind of playing with where the moon is a little bit and having a bit of a glow going on. I don't like that circle just there. Gonna bring that out. Lovely. Okay, so there we go. Got. Yay! I'm happy with that. Okay. So every painting goes through a bit of a messy phase before it looks really, really good. So bear with it. Trust the process, I guess. So I'm coming in now with, I think I'm going to change my brush because I had like quite a thick one to do the backgrounds. Now I'm doing a lot more detail. So I want to change my brush up to something a little bit thinner so it's nicer to work with, because otherwise you'll end up battling with the brush a little bit. So, okay, we've got some shapes appearing. Now I need to define those shapes just a bit more. So I've got some orange, some lovely pumpkin orange just here, and I'm going to mix that in with a bit of white as I go, and then a bit of yellow. So what I'm going to do is pick up the orange, get the orange on the canvas, and then go in there with some yellow, maybe some white, just to kind of blend it on the canvas rather than mix my painting in the pot. That's what I tend to do. That's my style a little bit. So if you see any of my pictures and my paintings, you'll see I don't necessarily change the colors that I'm given that much. So like with these guys, I'm just blending those colors into the white. And that's something I would do either by picking up multiple colors on my brush or by blending it on the canvas. And that's what we're going to do with the pumpkins. We're going to blend it on the canvas. So like this pumpkin in here, we've got the orange underneath, and then we went in with a little bit of white just to highlight some areas, and then a darker color underneath. We might put some orange and yellow in around there, and then there's even a little bit of red in there just to kind of like pick that up. And I don't, yes I do. I do have red in my canvas. Right, so we're basically gonna make it look a little bit raw, but I like that. I like that style. You can blend it if you really, really want. You can have a super blended. And I did paint over some of the pumpkin just here. So I'm going to wait for that to dry just a little bit before I go in that way. Instead, what I'm going to do is come in and start here. So I want quite a bit of paint to start with, especially when you're going around the edges that might potentially still be wet. Because what we don't want is blue to come into this now. And if it starts to come into that, then I would wash my brush and start again. So I'm just picking up that orange and making sure that we're covering that pumpkin shape in the same brush strokes. So my pumpkin is going to be coming round in a circle like this. So that's the way my brush strokes go, because if we get any texture from the paint, then that's a bonus. And we will just capitalize on that, because if I was coloring in like this, let me show you like that, you're just not going to have the same sort of texture that comes from following the lines. I don't know whether you guys can see, but there's like little paint lines happening around here, and there's little paint lines here. So when the light catches these paint lines, it's just not going to look as good as when it naturally comes round. So you're just using your paintbrushes to accent the painting and do part of the work for you, so you haven't got to paint in all of those details and those lines. The shadows are naturally going to pick those up. So just literally following the line of the pumpkin. Coming in with a bit of detail. I want to come around here, but I'm going to go over this green. If I want to do that, then I've got to have quite a bit of orange on my brush. So I'm going to take that orange, whoosh, and cover over parts of the green that I think need covering. And then I'm just kind of taking a step back and looking at it to double check I'm not covering up too much. There we go. In the line. Lovely. So when I'm coming to the middle, I'm just kind of, I'm going this way and I'm going that way. I'm going this way and going that way. Just to kind of get that natural shape of the pumpkin. And again, I'm going to have to work kind of quickly here because, oh, picked up a little bit of green just then, but I'm not completely opposed to it. So we'll go. Pumpkins can be a little bit green sometimes, can't they? You can have green patches. Yeah. Okay, we can work with that. Oh, nice. Yeah, I like that pumpkin. So I'm just looking at the shape of the pumpkin, trying to make sure it's not sitting wonky, lopsided, even though they are a little bit wonky and lopsided sometimes. Right, so now, while it's wet, I want to come in there with some highlights and some details. So I haven't even bothered washing my brush. I'm going to go straight in and pick up some white, being careful to make sure I actually pick up some white, not the mixing white that I dumped in there earlier. Although, I don't know, we'll see what it does. And then I'm coming in from the top, so the moon is up here. That's where the light is going to be, but also our ghosty is going to be glowing. So I want kind of like a little bit of a glowing texture, and you'll see there's quite a lot of white paint. So I'm just going to pick that up. I'm gently touching the canvas just to kind of move that paint where I want it to be. I'm not necessarily just slapping it on. I'm thinking about, okay, right, where do I want that paint to be? And I'm helping it find its little home. And just here. And if you go in with too much white, you can always go back in with some orange. Remembering that pumpkins are kind of segmented, aren't they? So I'm just kind of giving you a suggestion that the pumpkin is segmented at the moment. I come in here, a little bit of white, just to give it a little glow. Ah, just got some green. That's okay, we can work with it. Happy accident, that's what they say. Right. Okay, so we've got some suggestion of a pumpkin there. Okay, the brush strokes are following the same line as the pumpkin. I'm going to grab some yellow. I haven't even washed my brush yet. I've just dabbed it on my cloth here. And then the yellow is slightly darker than the white. So we're just going to come in down here, bring in some of that white, suggestion of shadowing and highlights, right? And the pumpkin is starting to appear. Okay, so I've popped quite a bit of yellow just on the edge there because the ghosty is sitting right there. And he's obviously going to be making this little thing glow. Okay, I'm not happy with how much white is here, so I'm just picking up a little bit more orange and plonking that back over the top just to dull it down. I'm not worried about blending, that's not my style. If you want to blend it, really blend it, and then you can have a really natural looking pumpkin, but I kind of like mine to look a little bit painted on. There we go, right, a little bit yellow at the top there because the moon is quite bright. And just moving that paint where I want it to be. And then I'm coming in here with a little bit of darker. So where we've got, yep, just wiping my brush, where we've got these little bits to segment the pumpkin, I'm just going to come in with a little bit darker, and I want to bring it up from the bottom because the darkest point of the pumpkin is at the bottom. So I'm going to bring in some suggestion of shadowing. And then if it's quite sharp, we can just blend it a little bit more. So once I've got the paint on the canvas, my brush doesn't have as much paint on it as it did before, so I can come back in, spread out some of that colour. All the while I'm kind of paying attention to the colour that's on my brush. So if I get a lighter bit joining me, then I will go back in on a lighter area. So I'll keep sort of swapping and changing. Based on the colour that you're seeing come off my brush. So it's still quite dark at the moment, so I'm coming back in. I'm going to finish off this area just here. It's going to be dark around that little pumpkin. Okay, remembering to follow those brush strokes. Oh, yeah, that's okay. I like that. I'm going to shape that off a little bit. Nice. Bring in the lighter colour down here. Let's mix in with a bit of the darker colour. Nice. Again, just here. Whoop. Don't want any harsh lines. I'm making sure that my brush is going in a different place every time. Nice. We have a pumpkin. We have a pumpkin. Okay, so now I've just got to do the same thing down here. So same again. I'm just going to wipe my brush because it's still got orange on it. I'm going to pick up quite a bit of orange and then I'm just going to come in and get my shape. The reason we did this one first is because this one is set in front of it. So we don't have to worry about those khaki lines. All right, word? We can tidy it up by coming in with the one over the top of it. And if when you're doing these layers, you discover you should have done one first and you didn't, that's fine. You can just go back over the top of it with your original colour. One of the other reasons why I'm not such a fan of mixing mixies, because you might run out of the colour and then you have to mix it again. If it's not the right colour, then it'll get stressful and it's like, definitely a fan of making your life easier. So obviously as you get better at mixing, and that shouldn't be too much of an issue, but we're keeping this fairly low key. We're keeping this easy, nice and pleasant to paint, should we say. Okay, so now I'm just picking up a bit of my white. I've got my white ready to go, and I'm just going to come in here with the shadows, with the highlights. So I want a suggestion that there's segments in this pumpkin, so I'm missing out parts. I'm not just going over the top of the whole thing. There we go. And then I'm coming in with yellow. Because it's a smaller pumpkin, we just don't need quite as much paint. And if you are picking up quite a bit, then spread it about first and then go round blending it back in. Yeah, kind of like that. And then I've got to get my darker colour in here. Again, don't need much of it. And then we're going to go around the bottom here, start coming up, finding those sections and segments. Yeah. I want to come up here a bit more. Come out here. Okay, I've actually got just a little bit too much paint on my brush, so I'm going to wipe this off and then come back in and blend it about a little bit. taking my time. The smaller the painting, the harder it is. Which is so funny because obviously a small painting like this, you can only maybe sell for so much because it's a small painting. Whereas a bigger one like this, you might be able to sell for a little bit more. But it's actually, it takes less precision. Yeah, I'm kind of happy with that. I just want a little bit of water because I've got some harsh lines here. I just want to blend out a little bit. Blending a little bit more. Blending, we're blending. What is that song? Okay, I'm just rounding off my pumpkin edge here because I kind of see a little jumpy pumpkin. And again here, I want to see a little jumpy pumpkin. Got a little bit of orange. Jumpy pumpkin coming in. Whoa, steady hand, steady hand. I do not have a steady hand. Oh, I'm awful. I do, I'm working on a book as well. And some illustrations. And on my my iPad. If you don't have a steady hand, then it's a nightmare. It's a mess sometimes. I'm constantly redoing lines. I'm getting better. Right, so now I'm going to wait for this to dry a little bit because we've got a ghosty that's going to sit over the top of it. So I want that to be completely dry really before I start coming in there. We've got some pumpkin bits that we can paint next. So I don't tend to use brown. That's not my thing. So I'm going to get the same colour that's at the bottom here, which is like a pinky, I don't know if you can see that, like a pinky kind of burgundy. I can tell you what it is if I find it. I'm using, I'm not even going to pronounce that. It's some sort of violet colour. Don't know if you can see. Yeah, anyway. So I'm going to use that at the base here because the pumpkins have got like their little pumpkin thingies. There we go. And then I need a bit of water because it's not spreading right. This one's a bit drier. That's better. And then I'm just coming up the darker side a little bit more than the other side, and a little suggestion of something up here, I don't know what. But I'm not just colouring in the whole thing. I'm thinking about layers and shadowing. So I want to put some shadowing up here because our pumpkins have got like a dip in the top, haven't they? And that's always darker than the rest of it. So now I'm coming in with my dark green, and I'm going to go over the top of that. And I'm happy with the blend. I'm happy with the blend. You're a nice picture on the page. Don't worry about the detail at this stage. Okay. There we go. So we got a suggestion of a pumpkin stalk just there. I'm going to do the same with the other one, but I'm not going to go in with as much of the pinky colour because it's darker. It's a smaller pumpkin, so the highlights and shadows are a little bit more obvious. However, I've just literally lost that because I've gone in with the green. Let me show you. So it's kind of disappeared into the background of the blue. So what I now need to do is I'm going to grab some yellow because we can highlight this pumpkin stalk. Some of the whatever is going on down here. We'll go in with a bit of white. Way too much, but fine. Okay, the brush is a bit wet. Oh. Nice, okay. Tidy this up. Bit of this, that. Yeah, that's better. Right, now you can really see it. Yeah, okay. So we've got sort of like a patch down here that needs a little bit of work because the pumpkins will look like they're floating unless we give them some shadowing down here. So what I'm going to do is really wet my brush and then go in with that dark green. And I just kind of want to glaze over the top. So by having a wet paint over the top of the dry, we're going to be picking out a bit of shadowing. So it's just a wet paint over the top of the dry stuff. Some shadow down here. And then I'm going to go in and do this bit too because we're going to want that there too. Okay. Right, now I've got a bit of a dilemma because I've got green on my background and obviously my stalks and everything are going to be green too. However, this is a painting. You get to choose whatever you do and whatever kind of colours you use. So I'm going to use a non-conventional turquoise for my pumpkin stalks and twirly vines and whatever else we want to call them. Do I want to do this ghosty though? Yeah, we're going to do the ghosty. We're going to get this ghosty in. This little guy that's popping his head up at the background here, we're going to get him in because he's in the background. So what I'm going to do, what I do for my ghosties, right, is you can see this white has a load of colours mixed in with it because I just pick up the white and then whatever colour is in there, it kind of just mixes in anyway. So what I do is I take that like that, right? So I've got all of that mixy colour whiteness, okay? And then I'm coming in and I'm covering this ghosty with that white. I think there's a lot of mixing white in here. It's okay, it's covering. Just being careful when I go over the pumpkin because that's the more prominent item on the painting. I want that to be up front. I don't want my ghosty to be having lines over the top of my pumpkin because then it won't give the illusion that he's behind it. It'll be weird. Right, so I've covered it in white. There wasn't much colour that came out of that, so what I'm going to do is just dab a bit of colour in there. So I've still got all my white, but then I've got tiniest little bit of colour on the end of my brush. And you can pick whatever colour you want. And what I'm going to do is just come in and blend in some colour. And I grab a little bit of purple. Tiniest little bit. And if you haven't got enough, you can always add a little bit more. And if you've got too much, you can always add a little bit more white. So it's just got the suggestions of colour rather than the ghosty actually being colour. And again, I'm not a massive fan of blending. I like my lines to be quite seen. So I'm going to leave it like that. Tidy up this edge just here if I can with my very non-steady hand. Yeah, come on, go. Yes. Got the line, I got the line. Oh, I like him. There we go. Right, okay, so we've got this kind of shape appearing. Can you see? So there's like some yellow, there's some blue, there's some purple. So it's just kind of suggesting that the ghosty is of a colour, but he's not actually a colour. Okay. And we'll go, oh, I didn't get my black. Where's my black? Oh, seriously, where is my black? No, that's green. Is that it? Oh, my black is notoriously really difficult to open as well. Oh, we got in. So with black, I only need a tiny little blob, so I don't tend to go for it as quick because I don't use it that often. You can use blue and blend in, but because this is white and it's also still wet, I want to make sure I've got plenty of black on my brush. And then I'm coming in and I'm just doing these eyes. So I'm kind of copying these lines. So they're literally just oblongs with little blobs in the top. Okay. So we're going to do a similar sort of thing. Do we want him to say boo? Do we want him smiling? How do we want him to appear? And if you're not a fan of it, if you put it in and you're like, wow, oh my goodness, what have I done? Just wait for it to dry. And then go over the top of it. It's always better to start smaller and build it up. Boo? Do we want him to be like, yeah, boo. Okay, so just going to draw the mouth on too. Being careful not to go over my pumpkin. I kind of want this to be as black as can be. So when it dries, I might go back in there and do a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to wash my brush and then pick up the tiniest little blobs of white. But in order to do this, I need a point on the end of my brush. I need my paint to be a little point. Do you see that little point? So then I'm going to daub that in to create those little white blobs on the eyes. Might be better to wait until it dries, but I'm impatient. Oh, maybe I want to actually do the glow in the dark before I do the eyes as well. No, because I'm going to do them on the edge. Ignore me. Right, okay, so we've got one ghosty up here. So now, if I come in with my turquoisey colour that I'm going to use for my pumpkins, I'm going to take my pumpkin stalk. It's actually going to go over the top of my ghosty, and I quite like him. And now I'm just going to map in where I want the stalk to go. And they're not straight lines. I painted over the other one that I had in the background, so I can't remember what it looked like. I'm just making it up as I go along. No, I'm not. I'm making calculated decisions, of course. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of like that. Cool. Get to link it in it. Right. So everything you're then putting on your canvas now is going to need some sort of shadow and highlight. So the stalk, this vine here is going to need shadow and highlight. So just put a little vine in there. Don't need that. But I'm going to paint in my leaves first, so you can see. This is me being slightly impatient again, so you can start to see your painting come to life as you're starting to fill in all of these blank spots and all of these untidy edges and make something of it. There we go. Making sure that those brush strokes are in the direction that I want my leaf to be in. So you could use one brush to create a leaf. But again, we're keeping it super easy, super low-key, no special brushes. And this whiteness, nice. Like that, great. Now I want a little bit of a low light, so a shadowed area on my leaves and stuff. So I'm going to find my green because I've run out. There we go. I'm going to take a little bit of that green, not worried about mixing on my brush, and I'm just kind of picking out the areas of my leaf that are going to be darker than the rest of it. And then I want to blend that out. Save a load of detail for a detail brush. Maybe I should do that. But again, I'm impatient. I've got this brush in my hand, so it's happening. It's happening. Yeah. Come in here. Again, not worried about blending. Kind of like edges. It looks a little bit more stalkerish. Oh, stalkerish. Stalking. No. Stalk. A little bit more like a stalk. Oh my god. We'll just pretend I didn't say that. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a low light going on. So we've just picked out some low light areas, and then you've got your medium stroke in there already because that's the colour you picked. And then I'm going to go in with a little bit of yellow. It's either yellow or white that I tend to use because my pictures are a little bit not the norm. You'll see I tend to use yellow to highlight where you should use other colours, where you should mix a lighter colour of the same shade. I just kind of go in there with something different entirely, and that's kind of my style. But you guys can do whatever you want. If you wanted to have a really natural looking pumpkin, then you would mix lighter versions of the same shade highlight just down here. Whoosh. Just here. Kind of lost it there. Okay, I'm not going to worry about the little twirlies and the rest of the leaves and stuff because we'll add some detail. What I tend to do is put a black outline on some stuff to really kind of make it pop. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But I think I might on this one. Then we'll get some nice details going on. Right, books, 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 books. We're going to go in with this burgundy pinky colour. Why not? And then I'm going to out this one right on the top here. Okay. Now we want a spine. Whoosh. Get a bit more of the paint to cover it over here. I've left a little white line so I can see where I'm going to be putting my detail in, because otherwise it might just turn out to be one blob. Okay, so we've got a book. A book has appeared. I'm going to put in a little bit of white. Again, probably got lots of mixing white in there. God, really should change that, but I'm so lazy. Okay, managed to get my book shape in there. I've got some little white dots just above it, taking away some of the detail. I'm going to just fill those in with a bit of blue. And just right here. A bit of blue. Okay. Now I've kind of got my books appearing. I'm going to have a sip of coffee, and then I'm thinking about what to do with these guys as well. Coffee's gone cold. Okay, we're going in with the ghosties because I can't wait. So, what I'm going to do is pick up a load of that white like I did last time. And I'm going to start with this dude in the middle. He's our main character, isn't he? So I'm just coming in and I'm going to cover him in white. But what I'm doing is paying attention to where he's lifting the book up, where he's holding the book. I'm going to bring that brush stroke around and down to indicate where his cloth would be holding the book, right? And then just doing that a couple of times, neaten up this line at the side here. And because he's actually sat on the pumpkin, kind of want to take him over the pumpkin a little bit. So he's taking a bit of the pumpkin out. And actually, the fact that I've just used mixing white means that you can see part of the pumpkin through him. Yeah, a happy little accident. I hate wasting paint. So the fact that I've used mixing white, I'm just going to be like, okay, we're using mixing white. Okay, now we've got his glasses and his face here, but I'm going to paint over it because I want more. I want to be able to get those nice smooth lines really, more than worry about that detail. and we put that detail back in afterwards. So if we were using mixing light, it wouldn't cover it completely. Anyway. Okay, we've got pink and then bring his cloth down here. And then in the process, if I'm picking up slightly different colours in my white, because I'm what I call a messy painter, like my paint always ends up mixing and stuff, then I'm not going to worry about it because that just adds to the detail. Okay. I think he needs a little bit of a hand around his book just here. Okay. Because you're also kind of covering up blue where you're tidying up these lines and getting them nice and crisp. You want to make sure that there's quite a bit of paint on your brush. Really go over it, and a good quality white, not a mixing white. Okay, and then I'm just kind of picking out the shape with my brush strokes. So you'll see, I'll move you a little bit closer. So we've got him appearing. So my brush strokes have come around here, because that's where his arm is, and then round here it just picked up a little bit of a different colour, so you can almost see a shadowing starting to appear. So we're just gonna utilize that a little bit more, add in those splashes of other colours because none came through. So I'm just gonna mix those in. So this is where the moon is. That's going to be his glowiest part, I guess. So I'm going to daub in a little bit of purple. Quite a bit of purple. I'm going to daub in quite a bit of purple. And then I'm coming down here because it's quite dark, and I'll just make this bit look like it was meant to be dark. Under the book, look for shadowing, why not? Okay, the other thing we need to acknowledge with our ghosties is that the fabric has creases in it. So if ever we come across an area where we think, oh, there could be a lovely little crease there, we can suggest there's a crease based on where we put the shadowing. Right, I've just literally coloured in purple. Try again, coloured him in purple. So I'm coming back in with a bit of white, and I'm just going to take some of that purple away by going over it and blending it. I'm not going to battle with it because it is what it is, and this is how my ghosty is going to look. But what I don't want is obviously the image in my mind to look a bit different from the one that I want on the canvas. So there we go. Right, we've got some shape kind of appearing now. Yeah. So with the folds in the cloak, I'm just going to come in the bottom, pick out where I want those folds to be. Done a line. Where are they going to be? If we sat maybe around here. And then maybe another one here. And I'm picking purple. Just because we haven't really used purple everywhere else, but then also it looks really good with orange. And the pumpkin is right there. So I'm lowering a bit of purple. Add in a bit of yellow, maybe a bit of that lighter blue, and we've got ourselves a ghosty. A little bit of lighter blue. Remembering where his arm is. Remembering where those creases are. It's kind of what I imagine cute little ghosties to look like. I just think they're a bit reflective rather than fully white. I could be wrong. Or I could be right. Oh, okay, so I've got in with the yellow. I'm picking up the highlights, so the bits that are sticking out a little bit more than the rest of it. Adding in a bit of colour. Some flashes of yellow in other places. And then we've got our colourful ghosty. Okay, so sort of appeared. So I'm going to let him dry. And then I'm coming in with this glow in the dark stuff before I put the eyes on that dude, because I think I should have done that with the other one, but never mind. So we're going to go and do the same again. So I've got quite a bit of white on my brush. I'm coming in here and I'm going to colour this dude in. If we get splashes of other colours, that's fine. Just adds to the effect. Remembering your brush strokes have an impact, so try and keep them nice and long. Try and keep them smooth. Remembering he's got an arm at the front here, and he's carrying something. You probably can't see it yet. Try and guess what he'll be carrying by the time I've finished. Okay. And then we'll have this one reading, this one flying, this one creeping up on people and saying boo. And this one is carrying something to the party. Perhaps my age would give it away. I'm not going to tell you how old I am though. Okay. I've got his cape thing trailing along this way because he's walking and it's dragging across the floor. Oh, just noticed a bit that I missed in the blue. Okay. I'm going to come in and fill that bit in before I do any other details. Okay, now I just want to grab my, do I want to do another purple? I'm going to do a light blue greeny one. Okay, again, got my paint loaded up on my brush, not too much. And then I'm coming in with the darker areas first, so that's the bit behind just here. That's where I want the creases to be. And around the back. And then I'm just kind of blending it in, deciding how loud I want this colour to be. And then I'm going to come in with a bit of yellow. Get in some little highlights again. Load my brush up just a little bit. It's probably a little bit too much, in fact. Oh, okay. And then I'm coming in with some streaks of yellow. Give him a slight feel of glowing. I'm assuming this glow in the dark paint that I'm going to be using isn't actually a shade, because that would be really annoying. It's like a greeny glow, but it looks like PVA glue. Could ruin my painting. Maybe I should test it first. No, it's fine. We're going to be brave. We're going to do it. We're going to just do it. Right, okay, and then Ghosty at the top here is flying on a broom. So we want our white. Some of these Ghosties wearing hats too. Witchy hats. You can have them doing whatever you want though. You don't have to have one flying. Have one cooking in a cauldron. Oh, that would be cool. Maybe I'll have to do a cauldron next. I can tell I've got quite a lot of mixing white in this. Not quite covering like I expected it to. A bit of that. Okay. So he's sat on a broom, so our brush strokes want to kind of show that off a little bit. So when we come down towards the broom, we might just do a little hump from where it's draping over the broom. Not essential, it still looks good either way. Right, this one's quite blue. That's okay. Kind of white with it. I've got quite a bit of blue on my brush. I'm just going to come in here and do the dark bit background. Okay, and then just a little bit of yellow again. Hopefully you guys are still with me. Apologies if this is longer than you expected, but granted, it doesn't happen that quickly. Sometimes when you're used to seeing things sped up, it can it'll give you a false sense of the time frame that it takes to do these sorts of things. Hence why when you see an original painting, you might see it for quite a bit of money. In here, and just put my broomstick in. I'm going to have to tidy up the edges that are around the broomstick as well, so I'll go in there with the blue because I didn't use a small enough brush at the time. And it's going to have a little gold rim. Yep, that's kind of good. Come in with a little bit of that dark blue just to tidy up those edges. Anybody else hold their breath when they're doing fine detail? Probably also drink my coffee from time to time. So I'm just getting rid of all of these little white marks that are around my room and my ghosty, because this bit was quite messy. I'll tidy up a little bit. Oh, ghosties. Hello there. So we can see our painting starting to really appear. Okay, so now I've got a choice. I can come in, finish the books, I can do this, I can do the hats, I can do whatever I want. Let's have a look at a hat. So I did, I like the way I did this one. This one, kind of did. Picked the highlighted areas, but I went in with the greeny bluey colour and the mauvey violet, whatever that is. So we're gonna kind of replicate that, I think, because I really like that mix of colour. So the darker side, that's this side. Come over to the dark side. Actually, I'm gonna say it's this one. I'm gonna do this one. So we're gonna go move. I'm just bringing the paint across. So I'm just picking out that line that defines the hat, and then just bringing the paint across in places, further in some places than others, and that's how we start to get the shape of the hat. So it's quite a rough line. Yeah, and then I'm going to come in with my greeny bluey colour, whatever that is, turquoise, and meet it in the middle. No, thank you, Harry. It's my doggy growling in the background. So we can see, ta-da, it's kind of like meeting in the middle, right? So now I'm going to come in with, I'm going to dry my brush, make sure it's really dry. And then I'm coming in with just a teensy bit of white. Just kind of pick out the areas that are right near the moon's glow. Again, just kind of bringing those lines across. Okay, so I've got some idea of highlight. So I haven't just coloured it in, kind of picked out little areas and popped a little bit of white in there. So now we will do a darker shade. So we always do the middle shade, highlight, and darker shade. Sometimes I put the darker shade in before the highlight, but start with the middle shade. And I've just picked the same sort of greeny colour, but I'm just putting more of it on. where the creases of the hat are. Okay, so I've gone in with a little bit of a darker shade, so you can see where the creases are. They're a little bit more prominent, so he's got quite a floppy sort of hat. I'm just going to extend this bit out the back as well, because I think it needs to be a bit longer. That looks better. Okay, now I'm going to put my yellow buckle all the way around. Might have to wait until it dries a bit. Because it's so tranquil. I'm just going to dab a suggestion of a buckle in there, and then I'll come in and I'll put some black over the top of it when it's all dry. Nice. You can actually see it. Okay. Wandering away. Now we're going to do the other one. So we're going to go in with the same movie violet colory thing that was coming in back, because the moon is over here. So that's where it's going to be its most glowy, and then we're just bringing in that suggestion of the detail. Okay. Now I'm going to go in with my turquoisey colour. And just bring him to the middle. Trying not to cover the other colour that's down, just helping it to blend a little bit, but giving it those lines that it needs to look creased and old and worn and stuff. Okay, there we've gone. Ta-da! There's another one. Right, now to make it pop like we did with the one at the bottom, we're going to do the white. Or yellow. You could use yellow. I'm going to use a bit of yellow, actually. Yeah, why not? Yeah, go for it. So I'm coming in with a bit of yellow over the top. Not worried about blending this too much, because actually the lines kind of help it pop a little bit. See? I'm just going to pop a little bit of white over the top, because otherwise it will look a little bit weird in stark contrast to the other one. I like the yellow there. Yeah, nice. Just a little bit of white. Oh, I did have a black cat floating around on this painting somewhere. Ooh. Painted him out because when I was sat there and I was drawing him on, I was so used to working on my tablet. I kind of got into the zone and forgot what I was doing. And then I drew the cat way too far up, so he wasn't even sitting on the ground. He was like sitting in floating air. It just didn't really work. So I instinctively wanted to move it down, like highlight it and shift it down. But yeah, you can't do that when you're drawing on a canvas. Oh, forgot my little buckle on my broom. I'm just going to dab that in there. Boop. Buckle on the broom. Okay, broom. What colour are you going to be? Broom. I'm grabbing a load of white. Bringing that in and colouring in the broom. Using my brush strokes to kind of simulate the bristles that you would get in the broom. Okay, and then I'm coming in with a bit of colour. What colour should I use? What colour? What colour? What colour? Purple? No. Maybe a bit of yellow and a bit of purple. Yeah, we like yellow and purple. Bit of yellow. That. Creating a little bit of a messy feel to the broom. Maybe it's just swept the floor before he's gone anywhere. Do ghosties stay tidy, do you think? Are they tidy? I don't know. I don't know if they're tidy. I think they're quite messy. Isn't it messy? Haha. There we go. Right. Just gonna. You can really see that bit. He's zooming into the sky. Picking up a bit of purple to just wash over the bottom of the broom, just to give a little bit of shadow in. Okay, he needs a book. What colour should we do the book? What colour are books? Ooh, he could be holding Harry Potter. First book. Okay, got a bit of orange with a bit of that pinky colour. Again, just kind of mixing it on the canvas because that's what I love to do. Right, not too far. Fading it out. Fading it out. Okay. He's got his book. Oh, this guy. We've got to figure out what he's carrying, haven't we? Just going to tidy that up. Yeah. Whoopsie. Oh well. Okay, what's he carrying? What is he carrying? See if you can guess. Here we go. I want to go quiet because I don't want to give away anything. He could be carrying a bunch of flowers. She could be carrying a bunch of flowers. A black cat could be carrying a cat. Why would he be carrying a brick? Maybe he's trying to build a house. Maybe he's friends with the three-legged pigs. You can tell I've got a child, haven't you? Right, I'll show you. A football. He could be carrying a football. Not if he's one of my paintings, but maybe he wants to play football. I'm gonna have to wait for this to dry and then add in a little bit more detail in a minute. But you can maybe guess what he's carrying. What's the iconic thing that people bring to parties? Certainly not one of these. I carried a watermelon. Well done. Okay. I need to pause for a quick loo break.